Hi, everyone. Harry here to talk about John Eastman's efforts to derail his own disbarment proceeding in California because, he says, he's getting the feeling that he may be indicted soon in D.C. And let's start there. I think that's a pretty reliable feeling. I shouldn't laugh about anyone's being indicted. It's an important, solemn process, and in this case, part of what's an overall tragic situation brought on this country by Eastman and others. But the indictment speaks specifically about co-conspirators. Doesn't even call them. Everyone in the TV is calling them unindicted co-conspirators. That's not what they are. They're just called co-conspirators. I mean, for all we know, they've been indicted and it's under seal. That's not my best guess. So I think it would be remote, but I'm just saying that it's significant that they're called co-conspirators. It's a purposeful choice by the United States as opposed to unindicted co-conspirators. All right, so back to John Eastman. Remember who John Eastman is. He's a nobody, basically. He's a crackpot who's now, very much discredited even in the, as a scholar and in the academy, which is hard to do because that's what people in the academy are supposed to have, is sort of crackpot ideas. But he's a guy, it's telling that Trump may try to argue at trial while he relied on advice of counsel, because to the extent John Eastman was his counsel, and it seems very dubious that there was a formal attorney-client relationship. But to the extent he was, who was John Eastman? Simply a guy who would tell and confidently back up or try to support this ridiculous theory that would have authorized, in his view at first, Mike Pence to basically lie in the January 6th certification proceedings, or at least call a halt to them, a delay, so that it could go back to the states. That's who he was. And by the way, on this advice of counsel aside, even he conceded that his theory probably would go down in the Supreme Court 9-0. They were thinking, would they get a vote? So the notion that he is providing what counts as advice of counsel, reasonable legal views that Trump relied on, is out the window. It is out 6 windows, but one of them for sure is he didn't. He basically said you cannot do this. Okay, but he plays this weird role. He's an obscure professor who all of a sudden comes to Trump's attention because he's willing to propound this crazy theory, and now he's got the ear of the president. There's at the speech of the ellipse in his, fedora and overcoat. He gets to be a kind of a rock star, inflaming the crowd. He has this very heated exchange with Pence's folks where he basically accuses them of bringing down the republic. He is reviled by all the grown-ups in the circle, I think, including he's the guy who the Trump White House lawyer says, I'm going to give you some good advice. You'll need a criminal lawyer. He is a crackpot. That's who and he, it's one thing. We could have a polite 10-minute discussion. I don't think it would avail us much, but of like his ideas, and do they in fact derive from John Locke's prerogative, and, have any kind of intellectually respectable, pedigree. But beyond any doubt, they've got, they don't cut it in the US of A in 2020, and what he was advocating was patently illegal, and Pence, said so, and really nobody disagrees. So he's a total co-conspirator because he is agreeing with Trump to try to do something that's unlawful. That's the core of a conspiracy, right? You agree to do something that's unlawful, and you take some step in favor of it. That's we know this was unlawful, and all the sort of obfuscation in the, on the 5 TV shows by John Laura, Trump's lawyer, is completely beside the point. That he was just calling for a pause. Well, another word for that is delaying or impeding the Electoral Count Act prescribed date and time of certifying the presidential vote. He is really just a ragtag guy who's in the room. Okay, but he also figures in today because he's being disbarred, or the court authorities have moved to disbar him. This is the sort of second big point here, and he's saying now today, will you please put this on hold? Because I think I'm going to get maybe indicted in D.C. Okay, so what? Why should that matter? Well, he'll then be in a difficult position because he doesn't want to incriminate himself since he's subject to a criminal trial. On the other hand, he's going to have to make certain statements to defend himself in the disbarment proceeding. Okay, so the main point here is this is makes no sense at all. The reason he has, and he does have, a Fifth Amendment right not to incriminate himself is because things he would say would have a tendency to incriminate him. That will go away not when he's charged by Jack Smith, only if at all when those charges have run their course. So if he's been indicted and convicted and it's gone through appeals, now couldn't tend to incriminate him because he's already been incriminated. But we're talking about 2-3 years from now. So what he's really wanting to do is tell California to continue to license him. Just ignore for now these extremely serious charges against him in terms of his fitness to be a lawyer. There are 11 of them, including moral turpitude. Just ignore them, let him continue to represent clients. And really why? Because he doesn't want to be indicted and go into a criminal trial as someone who's been disbarred and who's been held by a civil authority, not beyond a reasonable doubt, but to have done all these wicked, unprofessional plainly kooky legal actions. So that's why he's asking for it, but it's just deceptive from the start because he's making it seem like it's just temporary, but it takes about a minute's calculation to realize he's asking to just put it on ice more or less indefinitely. So I don't think he will get that license from the California bar authorities. So he will be in this tough bind as he try to defend himself and say things that could then be used against him at a criminal trial. For example, he's going to have to admit that he didn't really have any authority for the things he was saying. And, there really isn't any prospect that the Supreme Court would uphold it, et cetera, which is, pretty forceful evidence of the conspiracy. Or does he stay silent and maybe lose his license? But that's the choice that his conduct puts him to. It's got both consequences for his professional role and for his liberty. Talk to you later. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video and other Talking Feds content, please take a second to like and subscribe. Talk to you later.